Hello and welcome. This is Alchemist X, and this week there are a few new things: a new memento for Shadow Messiah characters, an alter class for Creto, and then just upgrades for Nimul that are just given automatically. So I'll talk about the Shadow Messiah one last, just because it's very, very good. It could definitely be worthwhile for a lot of people, just given the kind of units that it's for. For Creto, it's not an amazing alter class. It's kind of like what I said in my last video about how even if they do like the laziest thing possible, you're still gonna end up with a very good unit, and I definitely still think that he just has such a good enough foundation of his kit that even though the alter class isn't particularly dramatic or creative, it's pretty much just here's some more means to buff his reaction ability, and then he has a buffed version of his reaction ability. I don't think that they added any more CC, but he already has a lot. And then he also has his Reso level 20 from his Gate 7, so that's another good skill for him to have, and that does have more CC on it. So he's still good at what he does, which is not getting hit and applying CC to enemies, and potentially giving a good amount of damage from the perspective of him being a sub DPS. If you have enough buffs on him, you could potentially run him as a hyper carry, but I think he works better in like a multiple damage dealers party, and you have somebody like Melville buffing them, or somebody like Riza debuffing them. And then Nimul, most of his changes are things like modifier boosts, skill use increases, more rewards for being quickened, which he's going to be quickened anyway, so that's just pretty much a flat improvement. More CC on enemies in terms of like Alchemic Crash and Delay. And then one of his cast skills from his vision abilities is now instant cast, and given that the buff that for him to get the buff, it requires him to be at full health. And so having an instant cast, use it when his health is full, you're going to automatically get it and don't have to worry about him taking like 1 damage from an enemy and then not getting it. And then you combine that with Melville, you can keep his health full constantly. So it's very, very nice. And then I think the best thing about it is that not only does his transformation skill restore his health, it also is going to be usable by auto now. So it's like no turn consumption, just transform. You got your skills. It's not, they must have just changed his AI. I wish the application of AI was a little bit more consistent across units, but I don't. If they go back and fine tune units whose AI is kind of bad, that works for me too. So yeah, definitely. If you are the kind of person who started around the same time I did, meaning that you would have gotten a hefty amount of gems right from the get-go, and they had the beginner banner that offered Narrow, Nimul, and Zaphyrus, then I would consider Nimul to be a unit very worth maxing out and going for, because you would have already started with his first memento, and then it's just a matter of getting ideally the second memento with him as a kid, or the Yukata memento. Either way, just grab one of his second ones. You definitely want the VCR from the kid one at some point, though. And then you do that, you get his gates maxed, and you have a very, very good unit for both single target nuking and just clearing out big crowds of enemies. And now he's got even more CC in his kit. So I'm glad. I like Nimul a lot. It's kind of a bummer to see him be a little bit overshadowed. It seems like they want him to be the kind of unit like Zahar or Chloe, where they don't want them to be irrelevant for too long because it's a unit that they like. Okay, speaking of Zahar, Shadow Messiah memento is nice just because it's a very high value memento in terms of all of the damage buffs that it's going to get. It's very much devoted to buffing them, giving them the stats that they want. And then if you max limit break, you'll get buff duration +1, which is very good for most of the units that are going to be involved. And because Zahar is the unit that you can 100% max out completely for free and get his first memento, really the only burdens is getting his second normal pool memento maxed out. Whether you use reliefs or not, it can potentially be worth it, just because he is to this day still the king of single target / nukes. Like, he just really can't be beat in that regard. And so I definitely consider him a must-have unit. And this memento will help not only him, but it will also help units like Spica, units like Corvus. With his alter class is also very, very good. Apparently, Ela is going to be getting one in the future. I saw some image that had been posted. It had Creto on it. I think it also had Ela on it. So I would expect to see her getting one in the near future. I can't say whether or not it'll be any good or not, but she has a good foundation too. Just especially for high mob count levels, just with a per kill snowball. So I could see her altar class being very, very good to have. Overall, seems like a pretty good time for fire units lately. So whether or not you want to pay full price for it is another matter entirely, but it's definitely a memento to keep your eyes on, whether or not you're going for it right now or not. So yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say as intro-wise. I actually, before I jump into the banners, I just wanted to note that for this map that's playing right now, this was actually supposed to be my test run. I only recorded it because just in case I don't know, accidentally won the level or something, like if the last enemy got killed by a counter or something, I'd have it recorded and I wouldn't be locked out of the level until tomorrow because you can only do it once per day. I just wanted to try out both Nimul with his upgrades and Creto right after I got his altar class job finished. And so this was meant to just be seeing like where the fault lines are and just in trying to brute force it and then optimize from there. But I ended up just being able to beat the level just by way of brute forcing it thanks to Nimul's transformations. So yeah, like it doesn't favor debuffs and it doesn't favor the damage types I was using. So nonetheless, I think I worked out pretty well. It's a good sign. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at the banners. And here we are at the banners. So we'll start with the Shadow Messiah Memento banner. Very straightforward, 9-step with a selector, but keep in mind that it will be around for the rest of the month. So it's a good backup plan for what to do with discount tickets if you're not sure what to do with them. There's other good ways to use them this week in particular, but those upcoming banners are going to be the rest of this week only. So if they're not for you, I would just hang on to your discount tickets and see what happens next week. And if nothing else good comes along, you got this as your backup plan. So the first of which is a small selection. There's both units and mementos. Pickup banner, usual style. I think it's a pretty good selection of units and mementos. As always, the unit banner provides value even if you have a small amount of investment into it, like 1 or 2 discounted steps. You can get a decent amount of shards of a character for that. The mementos require you to go all the way to step 10 in order to be able to guarantee that you get something good. Otherwise, you could end up with absolutely nothing, which I never recommend doing. The same thing is going to be true for the Ancient Story and its memento banner. The format is entirely the same either way. Now, the previous one for pickup banners had an entirely new coin shop, which you could potentially take advantage of, especially with Seda, or if you're working on getting Nimul maxed out. Ancient Story, it's the same old coin shop as usual, so its value is going to be highly dependent on how much you've used it in the past. Like for me, Ananji is the only character that would be worth doing steps of this banner for, because everyone else is pretty much already set or set enough, or the coins cost enough, or I don't have the unit in question, like in Surzik's case. So it doesn't mean that it's bad, it's just take a look at the shop and kind of see how many gems you're paying per shard, and that'll let you know. And then basically same thing as what I said before about mementos. And then aside from that, the White Day memento banner is still around, like I said in the previous video. However, I definitely think that it's overshadowed by the Shadow Messiah memento, just because if everyone's got Zahar, that's just a good thing to go for. The only exception I'd say is if you are like #1 Creto fan, especially if you have enough gems to guarantee his memento from this, and you're planning on getting his perfect training pack from the secret shop, you could spend a pretty modest amount of gems to get a unit with a limited memento completely maxed out, and then with an altar class. So I wouldn't necessarily make that a priority for most people, but if it's your favorite unit, then it's a good way to do it. So yeah, that's all I've got for the banner overview. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep waiting and see what banners are like next week. And if nothing else is appealing, then I'm going to use my discount tickets on the Shadow Messiah memento banner, because I've got a maxed out Zahar and I would like to have a maxed out Corvus as soon as I'm able to. And so that's something that is definitely on my mind. So if you are summoning this week, I wish you good luck, and I will see you all next time.